Kevin Stefanski isn't saying much, but his silence says everything. Inside the Browns locker room, the noise is getting louder, and it's not coming from the coach's office. Players, fans, and even national voices are asking the same question. Why isn't Shedeur Sanders starting? At first, Stefanski tried to justify it. He said it was about age, about experience, about letting the rookie learn. But that excuse is wearing thin, and the locker room isn't buying it anymore. You can feel the tension. It's not about readiness now. It's about control. Jerry Jeudy's public defense of Sanders cracked open a story the Browns were hoping to keep quiet. His comments didn't just show support for his young quarterback. They exposed the divide between the players who see what's happening every day in practice and the leadership trying to hold on to a narrative that's falling apart. And then Myles Garrett, the defensive leader, the face of the Browns, stepped forward and echoed Jeudy's words, praising Sanders' focus, leadership, and calm under pressure. That's when it stopped being a disagreement. It became a statement. The players are ready to ride with Shedeur. The question is, why isn't their coach? This story isn't just about who's under center. It's about a power struggle that's starting to tear at the foundation of the team. What started as a development decision is turning into a full-blown identity crisis for the Cleveland Browns. Fans can feel it. Reporters can sense it. Even rival franchises are watching the situation unfold like sharks circling the water. Because when a team this talented starts to fracture from the inside, opportunity follows. Stefanski's critics aren't saying he's a bad coach. They're saying he's a stubborn one. His reluctance to adapt, to listen to the locker room, is painting him into a corner. The Browns' culture, once built on trust and accountability, is showing cracks. The players are rallying behind their guy, while the man in charge keeps stalling. Jeudy said it plainly, Shedeur earned this. He didn't earn it through PR stunts or hype videos. He earned it by showing up early, leading in silence, taking hits in practice, and commanding the respect of men twice his age. That's the part that matters most, the respect. Because you can't fake that in an NFL locker room. Players know who's real and who's not. And Shedeur, he's real, calm, humble, ready. Every day, he walks in with that quiet confidence, the kind that makes veterans take notice. But instead of embracing that moment, Stefanski has doubled down on caution. He keeps repeating the same line, that Shedeur needs more time. But the evidence says otherwise. He's making the right reads, commanding the huddle, earning praise from every corner of the locker room. So why isn't he playing? That's the question that's fueling this entire controversy. Each time Stefanski avoids it, the tension builds. Every day, Shedeur sits. The locker room's trust fades a little more. Because this isn't just about football, it's about belief. The Browns are at crossroads. Either they show they trust their players' voices, or they keep pretending the old way still works. But in today's NFL, teams rise and fall on chemistry. You can't lead a group of men who no longer believe you're listening. And it's not just the team, the fans are losing patience too. Social media is boiling over. Talk shows are running segments questioning the head coach's leadership. And through it all, Shedeur keeps his head down, working like nothing's wrong, a move that's only earning him more respect. That's what makes this story so powerful. The rookie isn't feeding the drama, the veterans are. That tells you everything. When the stars speak up for the kid, it's not just hype. But while Cleveland stalls, the rest of the league watches. The Las Vegas Raiders are rumored to be keeping tabs. And can you blame them? If a franchise like Cleveland can't see what they've got, someone else will. Because make no mistake, Shedeur Sanders is special. The kind of quarterback that reshapes a franchise's future. And right now, the Browns are on the verge of fumbling that future out of sheer hesitation. The danger isn't losing games, it's losing trust. Once that happens, it doesn't come back. Veterans tune out, young players question the system, and the locker room splits in two. You can't win like that. And here's the harsh truth. It's not about inexperience anymore. It's about pride. Stefanski built a plan, a timeline, a system. Sanders wasn't supposed to rise this fast, wasn't supposed to threaten the hierarchy this early. But he did. And instead of celebrating that, the coaching staff seems threatened by it. That's not leadership, that's ego. Because true leadership isn't about control. It's about timing. It's about recognizing when the moment is here, even if it didn't arrive on your schedule. And right now, the moment is staring Kevin Stefanski straight in the face. Behind the scenes, that moment has already begun to unfold. Team insiders describe an atmosphere that's tense, not angry, but on edge. Players whispering in corners, meetings that run longer than usual, and glances exchanged when Stefanski walks into the room. Nobody's saying it out loud, but everyone knows what's happening. Shedeur Sanders is winning over the building. Even those who doubted him at first, those who thought the college flash wouldn't translate to the NFL grind, are starting to come around. He's making throws in practice that shouldn't be possible for a rookie, threading passes through windows that only veterans attempt. And when a mistake happens, he owns it. No excuses, no finger pointing, just quiet accountability. That's how you win over grown men. And Jerry Jeudy, he saw enough. When he spoke up publicly, it wasn't reckless. It was calculated. He knew the firestorm it would cause, and he lit it anyway. Because sometimes silence is worse than controversy. His message wasn't about attacking the coach. It was about defending the truth. The truth that Shedeur Sanders has outperformed expectations, outworked everyone in the room, and earned a shot he still hasn't been given. In today's NFL, that kind of energy spreads fast. Within hours, other players were reposting Jeudy's clip. Linebackers, linemen, even former Browns players were showing support. The message was clear: let the kid play. And the fans? They erupted. Social media went into overdrive. Clips from training camp, behind-the-scenes videos, and interviews resurfaced showing Shedeur's leadership. It wasn't hype anymore. It was proof. By the next day, every sports outlet had one story on rotation: the brewing quarterback controversy in Cleveland. Some called it a distraction. Others called it a revolution. But for the players in that locker room, it was simple: they wanted to win. And they believed Shedeur gave them the best chance to do it. For Kevin Stefanski, this is where it gets complicated. Coaches live and die by control. Losing that grip, even a little, can change everything. Once players start making statements like Jeudy's, it's not just about football anymore. It's about authority. Does Stefanski double down, or does he listen? For now, he's doubling down. Publicly calm, privately defensive. He insists there's no issue, that the team's united, that decisions are made based on performance. But that's exactly what the players are questioning, because performance isn't the problem. Opportunity is. You can almost feel the walls closing in. A few bad games, a few more losses, and the whispers will turn into headlines. Has Stefanski lost the locker room? Is Shedeur being held back? These are the questions no coach wants floating around in midseason. But that's the reality now. And in moments like this, the locker room always remembers who stood up when it mattered. Jeudy's words will echo far beyond this controversy. Because in football, loyalty means everything. When you go public for your teammate, you're not just making a statement, you're drawing a line. And make no mistake, Jeudy drew his line. Now it's up to Stefanski to decide what comes next. Does he embrace the player the locker room believes in? Or does he cling to a plan that's clearly falling apart? That's what makes this story so fascinating. It's not just about one team, it's about a generational shift. The NFL is changing. The old rule of wait your turn is dying fast. Young players are entering the league not to learn quietly, but to lead immediately. Shedeur Sanders embodies that change. He's confident but composed, flashy when it counts, disciplined when it matters. He plays with his father's swagger, but carries himself with his own identity. And that's what scares traditional coaches, players who can inspire without permission. Every day he's on the bench, the tension builds. Every pass he throws in practice makes the debate louder. Because sooner or later, the truth always breaks through. And here's the truth: you can't bench momentum. You can delay it, suppress it, pretend it's not there. But you can't stop it. Sooner or later, the Browns will have no choice but to let him take over. Whether it happens on Stefanski's terms or the locker room's, that's what will define this season. Imagine that first moment, the crowd chanting his name, the stadium lights bright, Jeudy at his side ready to prove a point. That's not just a debut, that's redemption. For every voice that's been ignored, for every practice throw that went unseen. And when Shedeur finally steps under center, every camera will be watching. Every throw will carry the weight of this entire saga. But if you've seen how he handles pressure, you already know what comes next: calm eyes, steady hands, and a throw that shuts everyone up. Because Shedeur Sanders doesn't chase validation. He earns it. And for Kevin Stefanski, that might be the hardest lesson of all. In the NFL, moments define legacies. This one could define too. The fallout from that tension didn't just end on the field. Behind the scenes, things got louder. Phone calls, closed-door meetings, whispers from assistants who didn't like what they were seeing. Even a few veterans from the Browns locker room started voicing quiet support for Shedeur. Not because he'd earned it yet, but because they saw the potential, the calm under pressure, the leadership, the talent that doesn't need validation. And that's when Jerry Jeudy spoke up. He didn't mince words, didn't hide behind vague, team-first answers. He called out what everyone was thinking but afraid to say. That Shedeur was being overlooked, and that Kevin Stefanski's rigid system was the reason why. In an era where every comment becomes a headline, Jeudy's words hit harder than any tackle. It wasn't just defending a teammate. He was exposing a rift in the Browns organization, one that had been quietly growing between Stefanski's old-school methods and the new generation of players who wanted innovation, creativity, and freedom on the field. Deion Sanders, of course, didn't stay silent either. The man's entire life has been built on standing up for what he believes in. When reporters asked him about the situation, he didn't name names, but his tone said everything. He spoke about respect, opportunity, and letting greatness shine without fear. It was vintage Deion, smooth, confident, but with a warning tucked between every line. Meanwhile, inside the Browns camp, the tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. Rumors swirled that management wasn't happy with how Stefanski was handling the young quarterback. Some even claimed Jimmy Haslam himself had quietly begun asking questions. Why is our rookie not getting first-team looks? Why are we holding back someone this talented? And when ownership starts asking those kinds of questions, coaches start sweating. Stefanski tried to play it off. He gave his usual calm, corporate answers during press conferences. We're developing Shedeur at the right pace. We like where he's at. But fans could see the cracks. Every camera shot of Shedeur sitting on the sidelines, helmet in hand, only added fuel to the fire. Then came the game that changed everything. A meaningless preseason matchup on paper, Browns versus a mid-tier opponent. But it turned into the night everyone remembered. When Shedeur finally got his shot, he made sure the world wouldn't forget it. The first drive was all poise. Quick reads, tight spirals, timing that felt like it came straight from highlight reel. By the end of the second quarter, fans in the stadium were chanting his name. By the fourth, even the opposing defense was shaking their heads. Shedeur wasn't just good, he was surgical. He read blitzes like a veteran, threw off-platform with ease, and controlled the tempo like a maestro. The energy on the field shifted. The Browns looked alive again. And just like that, all the excuses vanished. Jeudy's earlier comments started to sound prophetic. The very things he was criticized for saying, that Shedeur deserved more respect, that Stefanski was holding him back, suddenly didn't sound like drama. They sounded like truth. Even the media, which had mocked the idea of a rookie quarterback from Colorado being ready for the NFL spotlight, had to pivot fast. Suddenly, every analyst wanted a piece of the Sanders story. Segments were cut. Tweets were made. The narrative flipped overnight. But inside the Browns facility, it was chaos. Stefanski, once known for his calm and composure, reportedly had heated exchanges with assistants over the sudden wave of pressure to start Shedeur. The front office sought dollar signs, jersey sales, fan engagement, national coverage. The players saw leadership, and the coach? He saw a challenge to his authority. Deion's words echoed louder than ever. Let the man prove himself, and he will. And Shedeur did exactly that. Not through arrogance, not through trash talk, but through execution. He made his case the old-fashioned way, by performing when it mattered most. The aftermath was swift. The fans turned on Stefanski's cautious approach. The media amplified every crack. And Jeudy? He didn't gloat. He didn't need to. His statement had already done its job. The truth was out in the open. By the time the dust settled, one thing was clear. The Browns could no longer hide Shedeur Sanders behind development timelines. The city had seen what he could do. The locker room believed in him. and the ownership knew they had lightning in a bottle. What started as a controversial comment from Jerry Jeudy turned into a movement, a challenge to the old way of doing things, and a reminder that sometimes it takes one person to speak up, to break the silence, to push a team toward greatness. Deion Sanders had once said that his son's journey wasn't just about football. It was about proving that talent and faith could rewrite any story. And in Cleveland, that story had just begun. Because if this is what Shedeur can do when he's doubted, imagine what happens when he's unleashed. The next morning, Cleveland woke up to chaos. Sports radio shows were buzzing. Jeudy crossed the line, one host yelled. Or maybe he just said what everyone else was thinking. Another fired back. And online, it was wildfire. Clips of Shedeur's performance were being shared nonstop. Fans demanded answers. Why wasn't this kid starting already? Even national analysts who had ignored the Browns for months suddenly had them on the front page. The Jeudy versus Stefanski saga had officially gone national. Every camera, every mic, every social feed was zeroed in on Cleveland. What had started as one player speaking his truth had turned into a team-wide referendum. Who really had control of the Browns? The coach, or the future star everyone now believed in? Stefanski tried to keep things contained. He called it noise. He told the press he was focused on team unity. But behind that calm exterior, people close to the situation said the coach was furious. He didn't like being second-guessed, especially not by players or fans. Yet even he couldn't deny what was happening on the field. In scrimmages and practices, Shedeur kept stacking good day after good day. The veterans started rallying around him, not out of hype, but out of respect. His work ethic was real, his poise undeniable. And for a locker room that had seen too many false saviors come and go, Shedeur felt different. Then came that team meeting. Sources said it was tense, no yelling, just truth. A few players reportedly spoke up, saying they wanted the best guy under center. It didn't name names. They didn't have to. Stefanski heard them loud and clear. Later that day, Jerry Jeudy walked out of the facility looking calm, almost relieved. He didn't say a word to the reporters waiting by the gate. Just a small grin, a head nod, and a simple line. Y'all will see soon. And everyone did. A week later, Shedeur was announced as the starting quarterback for the Browns' next preseason matchup. The stadium erupted when his name was read. Even opposing fans cheered, because by that point, it wasn't just about one team, it was about a moment. A kid from Boulder, stepping into the NFL spotlight, carrying the weight of expectation and the fire of a name that already meant something. When Shedeur took that first snap, the noise was deafening. You could almost feel Deion Sanders watching proudly from wherever he was, the same way he did when his son made history at Colorado. This was legacy in motion. Shedeur didn't disappoint. Every throw had purpose. Every play, confidence. He commanded the offense like he'd been doing it for years. And when he scored that first touchdown, he didn't scream, didn't taunt, just pointed upward and smiled. That moment became the clip. Every network replayed it. Every fan reposted it. It was Shedeur's quiet message to everyone who doubted him. You can't stop destiny. By the time the game ended, the Browns had not only won, they had hope again. The media who had torn them apart suddenly changed tone. Headlines flipped overnight. Shedeur Sanders silences critics. Jeudy was right all along. Cleveland's future arrives. Even Stefanski couldn't dodge the reality anymore. In the post-game presser, he paused longer than usual before answering the big question. Is Shedeur your starter moving forward? His answer was calm, but telling. We'll review the tape, he said. But yeah, he's earned a long look. And just like that, the tide turned. Jeudy's controversial comments suddenly didn't seem so reckless. They looked prophetic, because sometimes leadership isn't about staying quiet. It's about saying what everyone else is too afraid to. As the lights dimmed in the stadium that night, Shedeur and Jeudy walked off the field side by side. No cameras, no big speeches, just two players who believed in something bigger than the system. And somewhere in the distance, Deion Sanders' words echoed in every fan's mind. If you believe in yourself when nobody else does, you're already unstoppable. The Browns had been through chaos, criticism, and controversy. But in that moment, all that mattered was what was ahead. A new chapter, a new quarterback, and a team rediscovering its identity. The league might not have seen it coming, but now they couldn't ignore it. Because this wasn't just Shedeur Sanders' breakout. This was the moment the entire NFL realized. The future doesn't wait for permission, it takes the field.